This story titled, "My Coworker Kept Blaming Me for Her Mistakes, so I Gathered Proof and Got Her Fired Instead." My name is Rachel. I'm 27 years old, and I work at a marketing firm in a bustling city. I've always been someone who takes pride in my work. I double-check every detail, meet every deadline, and go the extra mile when needed. But none of that seemed to matter when my coworker Lisa decided to turn my life into a living nightmare. Lisa had been at the company a little longer than me, but that didn't mean she was better at the job. In fact, she was the complete opposite, constantly making mistakes, missing deadlines, and then somehow skating by without consequences. It didn't take me long to realize why. Lisa had a talent for dodging responsibility, and unfortunately, she found the perfect way to do that, by blaming me. At first, it was little things. A missed email here, a miscommunication there. She'd say something like, "Oh, I thought Rachel was handling that," or "Rachel must have forgotten to send the file." Minor annoyances, right? But then things escalated. One day, my manager Tom called me into his office. His face was tight with frustration as he slid a folder across the desk. "Rachel, can you explain why this report was submitted late?" I blinked in confusion. "Late? That's not possible. I sent it in on time." Tom sighed. "Lisa said she was waiting on data from you, and that's why she was delayed in submitting it." A cold realization hit me. Lisa was lying. "Tom, I sent her that data 3 days ago. I have the email to prove it." Tom's eyebrows lifted in surprise. "You do?" I nodded, pulling up my email right then and there. Sure enough, the timestamps proved I had sent everything well before the deadline. Tom frowned. "I see. I'll have a talk with Lisa." I thought that would be the end of it. That Lisa would back off now that she knew I wasn't afraid to defend myself. I was wrong. Instead of stopping, she got sneakier. She started sending emails filled with vague instructions, deliberately making them confusing so that when something went wrong, she could say, "Well, I did tell Rachel about it, didn't I?" She conveniently forgot to loop me into important meetings, then acted surprised when I didn't know about last-minute changes. It felt like I was constantly scrambling to prove my own competence. And worst of all, people were starting to believe her. The final straw came when a major client presentation was completely botched. I had spent weeks working on that project, making sure every slide was perfect, every piece of data accurate. The night before the presentation, Lisa offered to do the final review. I hesitated, but figured it was a simple enough task. Big mistake. The next morning, we stepped into the conference room, and the presentation began. I sat there, horrified, as I saw the slides. Half the data was missing, formatting was all over the place, and entire sections were just wrong. The client was not happy, neither was Tom. "Rachel," he said afterward, his voice laced with disappointment. "What happened?" Before I could answer, Lisa jumped in. "I tried to fix what I could, but Rachel must have submitted an outdated file." I felt my stomach drop. She had set me up. The worst part? Tom looked like he believed her. That's when I realized I couldn't just keep defending myself. I needed proof. If Lisa wanted to play dirty, fine. I'd beat her at her own game. I was done playing defense. If Lisa wanted to throw me under the bus, I was going to make sure she went down with it. That night, I stayed late at the office, going through every email, every file, and every shady move she had made. I started saving everything. Every time she sent me a vague email, screenshot. Every time she forgot to CC me, forwarded to my personal folder. Every time she claimed I didn't send something, timestamped proof. I even started recording our conversations, not in a creepy way, just using my phone's voice memo feature whenever we discussed assignments. And let me tell you, Lisa was sloppy. She left behind so much evidence that I barely had to dig. It was all right there. Emails contradicting her lies, meeting logs proving I was excluded, and even a recording of her admitting, "Look, I just told Tom it was your mistake because I didn't want to deal with it. It's not a big deal." Oh, but Lisa, it was a big deal. The next time Tom called me into his office, I was ready. "Rachel, Lisa says you missed another deadline." I didn't even let him finish. I pulled out my laptop and opened my neatly organized folder labeled Lisa's Lies. "Actually, Tom," I said, keeping my voice calm but firm, "I think you should take a look at this." I went through everything. The emails, the screenshots, the voice recordings. Tom's face darkened with every piece of evidence I showed him. By the end, he looked furious. "She lied to me," he muttered, rubbing his temples. "Repeatedly," I confirmed. "And she didn't just mess up her own work, she's been sabotaging me." Tom let out a slow breath. I need to handle this. And oh, did he handle it? The very next day, Lisa was called into HR. I wasn't in the room, but from what I heard, it wasn't pretty. When she came out, her face was pale, and her eyes were red from crying. By the end of the week, she was fired. Her desk was cleared out in less than an hour, and she didn't even look at me as she walked out the door. Tom later pulled me aside and apologized. I should have believed you sooner, Rachel. You've proven yourself, and I won't let this happen again. Just like that, Lisa was gone. No more whispered lies, no more false accusations, just peace. So, what do you think? Would you have gathered proof like I did, or handled it differently? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more crazy stories.